me dive in here. So I'm excited that y'all have invited me on this Zoom call. Hope everybody can get something out of this. I'm going to do my best to give y'all some practical, tactical tips that you can actually like leave from this and go do something, as opposed to just feeling like you heard some lofty kind of artsy fartsy pie in the sky cinematography kind of info. We're going to actually get dirty, like down in the trenches of, nitty gritty. We're going to figure out how to do lighting for Zoom calls, for everything else. So let's dive in. Let me give you a real quick kind of summary of who I am. Founder and CEO of Canvas, which I'm hoping we have some of our audience here today. If you're here from the Canvas audience, let us know in the chat. But we'll talk a little bit more about what that is here in a second. Before that, 10 years in the film and video industry. So I call myself a cinematographer, but basically just a video guy. Most importantly, husband and dad and foreign country drone policy influencer, which is, something I'm really passionate about. Maybe we'll go there, maybe we won't. Maybe that'll come up in the Q&A. And most pertinent to the discussion today, at least more pertinent than drones in foreign nations, is I'm a creator of content. And I guess my main argument today, my main thesis here is that really all of us are. And that's why we created Canvas. So let me tell you about Canvas too. Canvas, our tagline, Canvas exists to make creativity a delight. Basically, Canvas is a desk lamp and phone holder that empowers content creators to make beautifully lit content without the hassle. So the way I kind of think about it is we're a balance between simplicity and versatility. It's super simple. You just hit the button, turn it on, and you can't really mess it up, but it's also super versatile. You can get really any angle. You can do selfie videos, overhead videos, what have you, Zoom calls, as we'll talk about here in a little bit. But our mission is basically to make creativity a delight, make the creation process or the creativity process much more pleasant. So we'll talk a little bit more about Canvas here in a second, but I want to kind of tell you where the idea came from. So Canvas was obviously, as you can probably guess, born out of my experience as a cinematographer. For 10 years, I did all sorts of TV commercials and web videos, social media videos for Jo-Ann Fabrics, HGTV, Mercedes, Home Depot, a bunch more. And these are some of like the just little snapshots of some of the work I did over the years. As you can see in all these shots, we're actually shooting that overhead top down kind of perspective that was really in, and it stayed really in. It kind of puts the viewer in that perspective, being able to see, how this recipe is made, how this craft is made or whatever. So that was a lot of what we did back in my days as a cinematographer. Over here on the left is Jo-Ann Fabrics, in the middle is HGTV, and there on the right is Dale's. Any Dale's fans out there? Dale's marinade and sauce. Yeah, it's excellent steak marinade based in Birmingham, Alabama. So that's where I'm from, and that's where we did that shoot. But as you can see, all three of these little setups here, on the left, we've got a jib crane. In the middle, we've got a big camera stand, and on the right, we've got a tripod, probably as some of you have done before, leaned way over a table and just weighted down. It looks a little more professional here because it's, a professional tripod, but essentially it's just a tripod with a bunch of weights on it. I can remember a time I actually tied a bunch of textbooks to a tripod leg and then wrapped that around a doorknob to try to like counterweight my tripod so it wouldn't fall over. So that's where the idea came from, for Canvas. Getting that angle is really hard, even if you have a lot of professional equipment. And even if you do get your camera set up, the lighting is really a struggle. Like you can see in this shot on the right, the light is coming right through that tripod leg, and it's going to cast shadows on the shot. So that was where the idea came from. We, obviously made this for that overhead shot, but we saw customers start to use it for selfie videos, interview videos, like I was saying a minute ago, time lapses, stop motion. There's really anything, any sort of content creation you're shooting in a desk environment or a workspace environment is really what Canvas is for. And we just kind of realized this is something that everyone from your, highest end Hollywood producers all the way down to, hey, I'm just doing a sales call. I'm just jumping on a Zoom meeting. Everybody actually is making content constantly. And so there's been just a huge response to Canvas. And we see everyone from very accomplished high-end video producers all the way down to, just, hey, I need a light for a Zoom call using our product. So if you need a little convincing that you are in the business of content creation, I want to demonstrate in a way that most of us, I think, can understand just how important quality content creation is. So what you're looking at here is obviously a beautiful beach condo. In fact, I'm going to be staying here next week. Already very excited about it. We booked a beach getaway a couple weeks ago because I always wait till the last minute. Barely anything was left, and I did what everyone does. I scroll through Vrbo, scroll through Airbnb, and of course, diligently research every amenity and every review and really dig into the fine print to decide. Of course, I don't do that. I looked at the pictures like everybody else. You just scroll through and see a picture that you like, and you click on that. And then, once you get that initial click, maybe you're going to engage a little more and dig into those reviews and the witty copy they may have put in there. But the first thing you're going to respond to is the picture. And obviously, when I saw this one, I was like, all right, I could see us, going there. I'm digging it. I did not click on this one. I'm sure this is a lovely place. I'm sure the owners are lovely people. But you can tell just by the image here, there's a lot being communicated. Besides just the fact that, hey, maybe it's not quite as pleasant or nice in there. There's some undertones kind of coming through that I wanted to highlight. One is competence. How competent do you feel like the person who took this photo, the people who commissioned this photo of this location are going to be? Are they going to care about the light on the bedstand table that doesn't turn on properly? Compare it to the photo on the left. You're like, oh, everything in there is clean, bright, fresh. Everything's going to work. On the right, you worry a little bit about it. Two, a sense of trustworthiness. Like, you can't really put your finger on it, but can you trust that when you show up, everything's going to be in the right order, in the right place? I don't know. Honestly, care. Like, someone on the condo on the left, they put a lot of care into this. They hired somebody came up with a bunch of lights, lugged them up some staircases or an elevator, hopefully, and took some really nice pictures. Somebody paid some money for it. They put some work into it. On the right, the story is, guy was walking out the door, probably snapped a shot with his iPhone and then uploaded it. So if that's the kind of care they put into their content, what kind of care are they going to give you as a guest? Most importantly, and I think this is kind of goes without saying, is value. Obviously, all of us right off the bat attribute more value to the photo on the left than the one on the right. We're going to pay more for the one on the left than the one on the right. And even more importantly than that, I'm more likely to book the one on the left than the one on the right. And if you're not even getting booked, if you're not even getting that initial engagement from a potential vacation goer, you're certainly not going to get very much value out of the interaction. So while we all know this is absolutely true with your vacation listing, a lot of us do this on our Zoom call. Here's this beautiful young man on the right. On the left. It's the same guy on the right, but what am I communicating on the right? Am I communicating competence? Am I communicating trust? Do you really want to trust your brand? To me, if that's kind of how I look in my Zoom call. If you're not convinced yet, I'm going to share a few more statistics. You probably don't need to hear them, but I'm going to share them anyway. Number one, Facebook posts. These are all, I got sources on here, so you can go fact check me here. Facebook posts with images, just any sort of content, and just throw a picture on there, it gets 2.3 times the engagement than those without images. That speaks volumes. Including a video on your landing page can increase your conversion rate by 80%. We own an e-commerce store. We are like constantly fighting for like, hey, how can we get 5% more out of our conversion rate? How can we bump our conversion rate just 5%? Imagine if you could almost double it just by doing one thing, putting a video on your landing page. That's crazy. And this one's really interesting. 71% of recruiters say they've rejected candidates solely for poor LinkedIn profile pictures, regardless of qualification. So what that means is, these guys are fully qualified for a job. They have all the necessary skills, all the necessary experience, but because their picture, because there's the recruiter scrolling through LinkedIn and sees that picture, they're not going to accept that candidate. 71%, just because of the picture. And so it's really undeniable that improving your ability for content creation will improve your results, no matter what you do. Freelancer, entrepreneur, a lot of us here are kind of fall into that category. But even like an accountant, even you do sales, you do accounting, all you do is jump on a Zoom call every now and then. It's undeniable that improving your ability to produce high quality content was going to improve your results no matter what you do. All right. I feel like that was probably like everyone assumes that everyone here knows content is key importance. So I won't spend any more time convincing you. If you haven't been convinced yet, go back and watch the first part of the of the presentation. I want to get into my experience as a videographer. What are the 3 pillars of good video? I say it's composition, camera equipment, and confidence with lighting. Composition is something that I feel like everybody just kind of naturally gets. Everyone kind of knows symmetry. Everyone knows repetition. You kind of have a sense of, rule of thirds, how to make framing look nice. Whether or not you can put those terms on it, you have a sense of what looks good in frame and what doesn't look good. As far as camera equipment goes, everyone has a phone in their pocket, and that camera on that phone 10, 15 years ago is a $10,000 camera. The quality on your phone, a lot of times I'll talk to people, we'll get into this in just a minute, and they're thinking the thing they have to go purchase is a great camera. And I always respond, you already have an incredible 4K camera in your pocket. What you're really missing out on and what you really are sensing is missing from your content is actually confidence with lighting. So this third pillar is really what I feel like most people get tripped on. Most people can handle the first 2. And if you can't handle it, just, use your phone. Confidence with lighting is where I feel like most people get super tripped up. So let's get into some tips. Here's my 5 tips for higher quality content, or the do's and don'ts of lighting and such. I think I meant to erase that before I did the presentation, but it's the do's and don'ts of lighting and such. Number 1, we'll talk about each one of these in a little bit more detail. And at the end of the presentation, I'll have a big screenshot where you can screenshot the whole thing. So don't feel like you have to write every single word down. We'll have a time at the very end for you to capture all this. Number 1, get the right camera set up. We'll go into that more in just a second. Optimize your space. Set up the right video light, dial in the lighting, and then a super secret bonus tip that we'll talk about if you stay to the very end. So number 1, get the right camera set up. As I said, let me talk about this first. So this is me here. This is back from the cinematographer days. So what you see there, that's about $100,000 worth of camera equipment that I'm holding right there. It's a red. I can't remember the exact type. It's probably 8K helium. We've got the Zeiss Cinema Primes on the front there. That lens alone is probably $30,000. The tripod alone is about $15,000. So all this equipment is just insanely expensive. And even with all that experience, I'm going to tell you, the camera is not what you're missing. So, okay. So let's get into some do's and don'ts. Number 1, definitely make sure your camera is stationary. This is a big, very, very easy to solve for this. The first thing you should do to make your camera feel more premium, more quality is don't do the whole, hey, how's it going? Selfie video with your hand, or even a selfie stick, I know you're just sending like a follow-up to a call, or you're just, reaching out to one of your clients and you want to send them a quick video. Just get a little stand you can put on your desk. And like I said, we're going to give you some examples of some stands you can utilize, some actual links that you can go purchase a good stand, but get a stand. You got to have steady camera. On that note, number 2, don't just make sure your stand is sturdy, make sure your desk is also sturdy. We deal with this even with Canvas. Our lamp is very sturdy. It's all metal components. All the gears and the springs are kind of fine-tuned to be extremely sturdy. But if your desk is extremely sturdy, you're going to get all sorts of wobble. You're going to introduce a lot of shake to your camera. So I would just, before you, try to tether your camera stand down to your desk, make sure your desk isn't also wobbling. And number 3, this is specifically about the camera. Like I said, don't pay for features you don't need. So over there, I've got the $100,000 camera. If I were to film this Zoom call on that camera, and then we'd upload it and send it to you, and you watch it in real time, you're not going to get any better quality from that camera right there. Now, there may be, if you find, like, get in there with a microscope and look at the pixel level, you may find some differences. But really, if you're spending all your money on your camera and not on your lighting, you're putting it in the wrong place. So we'll come back to this a little bit more in a minute in a future tip. But I think as a creator and as a photographer, the temptation, I know it was with me and a lot of people that I've talked to, temptation is start by buying a nice camera, then start looking at some lenses, and then learn how to do lighting. And I really think if you want to create great content, that's the reverse. You need to figure out how to do great lighting first, then maybe spend some money on a good lens, and then worry about the camera body last. So we'll get into this a little bit more in just a second. But I want to talk through some specific examples, go from basically low budget to quality. So obviously kind of on the camera mounts. Okay, so we're starting with camera mounts. I kind of see the MacBook or whatever your computer, whatever your laptop or desktop computer is, that's your camera stand if you're using your built-in webcam. And it's great. That's what I'm using right now. As you can tell from my image, I'm sharp, clear. These cameras are great. And that's going to be super steady. Like I said, it's not going to be shaking all over the place. But if you want to spend a little bit of money, get you a $25 tripod like this one. We'll have the link to this one available after the call. But you can get a very cheap tripod very easily, basically hardly spending any money. I think there was like an $8 tripod that I found. So I didn't feel good recommending it, but but you can get by without spending much at all. Here's another example of a camera stand. This one's a little bit more sturdy. It's made for your desk. I actually have this one. And I never use it. It sits on the shelf back there because I've got a better one, our own canvas, our own phone holder that comes with a canvas lamp. But this one's about $40, $50. It works great. Get that, put it on your desk. This is actually one of our competitors here. And, they're definitely a budget option compared to our product. Our product is a little bit higher end, starts at about $118, and you can spend up to about $200 on one of our lamps. These come in about $80 typically. I don't mind recommending it if you're just kind of getting into the game. You're going to get upset with it. You're going to get mad at it eventually, and then you'll graduate to the canvas lamp. But this is a good product, and it's better than holding your phone with your hand. And I just feel so confident that our product is superior that I feel comfortable recommending this product. And of course, here's our lamp, which I'll plug about 56 more times over the course of this presentation. But we do have the best phone holder and best lighting solution that's available on the market. And as you can see here, we do ads actually comparing ourselves to all these products. And we're very confident that we've got the best thing out there. So if you're looking to get the highest quality lamp / phone holder for your desk, this is it. Just use your phone, spend your money on the lamp, not the camera. All right. For the actual camera itself, again, these two are I would consider them free because you already own them. There are some Logitech cameras that I would recommend, especially if you're doing mostly Zoom calls. You may incrementally increase your quality there by using one of these cameras. Probably not necessary. And of course, if you're going high end, I recommend the Blackmagic cinema camera, but probably not too many of y'all are looking at that. But that's the one I'm going to buy next time I'm in the market for a camera. All right, so now let's get really into the lighting, just the practical lighting stuff. Optimize your space. So what does that mean? So obviously this person here, whoever took this photo, they have an amazing space. They have an amazing natural light. It looks like, there's a tree there. So it's probably not going to be extremely direct light. It's going to be nice and soft, ambient, beautiful light coming through the window. So you absolutely are going to want to use that light. And so that's my first do. Utilize natural light whenever it's possible. Just about the only thing you could do wrong here is turn that seat around and look straight into where this camera is facing right now and try to do a Zoom call with that window behind you. Backlit is never a good idea. There's ways you can backlight, more cinematic, with the sun behind you coming over your shoulder. There's ways to do that if you really know what you're doing with lighting. But if you're just trying to get off the ground here, I highly, highly recommend orienting to where whatever natural light you have available is going to be playing, is actually going to be amplifying your scene. So this person will be creating a lot of headache if they try to turn that chair around backwards and shoot this direction that we're seeing right here. And number 3, I did say, so don't rely on overhead lights. In fact, minimize their presence. I had originally written this to say turn them off, but I kind of want to modify that a little bit. Overheads are never what you want as your main light. So right now I've got some fluorescent lights right above me. You can't really tell because I'm blasting my canvas light right here, and so it's kind of overpowering all the natural room light. But your overhead lights, for one, usually those lights are not the right quality. They're not the right CRI is the term. It's a technical term, but it's not going to make you look good. And the shadows are all going to be going down, and you're going to get a nose and a chin shadow. It's all going to look ugly. So I highly recommend don't rely on your overhead lights. If you can, get you a secondary light, which we'll go into here in a minute. Right now, actually. So lighting can be extremely overwhelming. You see all these options, and I put this picture on here. Like, I've used many of these lights here. I own a few of them. They're not necessary for most of what we're shooting. Now, if you've got an entire room, you're shooting a scene where people are walking through the scene, and there's like a couch over here and a table over here, and you got to light everything. Yeah, that's what these lights are for. But if you're doing an overhead video of you working on your journal for Etsy, or you're making a Zoom call, or you're just talking to camera for a sales call, you don't need anything like this. So that said, you're going to need a light source. So even if you have, the window that the person in the previous image had, that beautiful natural light coming through the window, you still need to make sure you have a light source that you can use. Inevitably, you're going to be having a call at night, or you're going to have a really cloudy day where the natural light just isn't quite doing what you want. And having a controllable light source that you basically, you turn it on, you dial in your settings, and you're good to go. No matter what the natural light is doing, you're going to be set. Additionally, you want to position it intentionally. You don't want to just put the light, a lot of lights kind of just clip onto your computer and shine straight in your face, which can be okay for some people, but people like me wearing glasses, if I put a light right here in front of the camera, it's going to be just like tons of reflection, tons of glare right in my eyes. So I intentionally put my light above eye line significantly, not so high that it's going to give me that top down overhead look, but enough to where it's not going to give me that bad reflection. And then I say, once you get it above eye line, experiment with directionality. I know some people may have a good side or a bad side. I know that's a thing. Experiment with, put the light over here, put the light over here, and just see what you like, see what looks good, see what you want to present to the world. Last thing, don't overdo it. More light is not necessarily better. This is probably one of the biggest myths that's out there. People always say this light isn't bright enough, or I need more light, or, more light is usually not going to solve your problem. In fact, I got to show you this. We actually used, this is an image I pulled off of Amazon, kind of as an inspiration when we were first developing the idea for Canvas. This is what we were trying to address. People who think you have to set up this many lights to get a good scene. It actually inspired this little GIF we made where, the girl sets up all the lights and then replaces everything with just Canvas. It's not necessary. And in fact, usually you're going to actually create more problems for yourself if you just add lights. I always recommend get one light, get it looking great with one light, and then possibly think about adding more lights later once you've got it looking great with one light. Chances are, though, if you just throw another light on there and you think throwing another light, seeing how it looks, you're going to suddenly be happy with it. Chances are you're not. You're going to have, conflicting shadows, your nose going this way and your nose going this way, or if it's an overhead video, it's like you're gonna have a lot of light coming this way, but then these weird other shadows on the other side. It's just gonna look confusing to the viewer. And so I recommend just getting one light that you know how to use really, really well, and learn how to dial it in, which we'll talk about in one more second. So video lights, budget versus quality. To me, I hesitated to put this in there because I don't love the idea of using this lamp for lighting, but right now I'm in a room that really doesn't have any natural light. We got one small window in here. I would much rather use this desk lamp or this bedside table lamp from IKEA rather than having no light whatsoever. So point here is no matter what you do, make sure you get some sort of secondary light that's going to give more definition to you, to what you're working on. Otherwise, it's going to be muddy. You're not to get too into the technicals, but the camera sensor doesn't have enough light to even see the image. It's going to be all blobby and gross. So if all you've got is a bedside table lamp, use that before you just go total dark mode. I have this bar light here and really like it, actually. In fact, we're kind of prototyping a few ideas here for our own take on a bar light, which that's super secret. So y'all just got a little inside scoop there. But this light is great. I want to say it's about $40 or $50. So it's not extremely cheap, but it's definitely affordable. And if that's what you want to spend, this was a great one. We'll have the link to this as well. Color temperature, dimming, and everything. A little weird on the user experience, but highly recommend it. It's from a brand called iOcean on Amazon. And then I even recommend the LumeCube Edge Light, which I'll go ahead and throw us up there. The LumeCube Edge Light is up there in the middle. Really, really solid light. It's about $118, I think, something like that, $119. So it's definitely not on the cheap end, but it will get the job done. You're going to look great if you get that light. And like I said, I have no problem promoting their product. Our product is totally different, and our product, I believe, is far superior. But in that budget range, and again, if you're mostly doing Zoom calls where you'll be using a different camera, you don't need to use your phone, then that's a great light. Of course, ours is the best. I have to say it, have to keep saying it. You got a professional ring light here with 3 color temperatures, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. Lots of dimming options, and of course the ability to mount your phone, do overhead selfie videos, what have you. And of course, I always like to include like kind of the high end case. This is called an Aputure 600D. I've got kind of a previous version of this light, but this is what we use for all of our content that you see on our website and social media. That's a little bit more high end. That looks like we shot it on a real camera, not just a phone. This is a great light for any sort of content creation. And the pro tip here that I have to say is always, unless you really know what you're doing, you're really going for a specific look, always use diffused light. Or basically that means, diffusion is just that kind of semi-transparent substance that the light passes through, basically like a white screen. That is going to take that hard shadow out of it. Now, the hard shadow can be awesome if you're doing product photography and that's really what you're going for. But for most people, what they want is that soft kind of ambient light when you're doing a Zoom call, or even when you're creating content at your desk. So make sure you get diffused light. So for the Aputure, if you're looking for that high end light, you can get a softbox. They sell those separately, or a big grid thing. But that stuff is, we're talking like a couple $1,000 all in on that high end stuff. So proceed with caution. Okay, number 4. This is kind of our it's our second to last point. How to dial in your lighting. So you've got the light, you've got all the professional settings, the color temperature, the brightness and the dimming and everything. How do you dial it in? What's the best practices there? This picture here is from our website. We advertise our light is great for day or night. Make content, whether it's a beautiful sunny day and you don't even really need the light, or if it's late at night and you're working after the kids go to bed. Oftentimes, I know that's what I'm doing. And so how do you get great looking content, whether you're filming daytime or nighttime? So first, don't mix color temperatures. And basically, just to really make this simple, we have 3 color temperatures available in our lamp. We have the warm, or the kind of yellowy light. It's about 3,200 Kelvin. That's the technical terminology there. The middle is a neutral setting, and it's about 4,800 Kelvin. And then the cooler, or the blue setting, is about 6,000 Kelvin. And basically the way I describe it is, if you're sitting in an environment that already has lighting and you're trying to just blend in with that environment, you want to match the lamp temperature to that environment and not mix. So if you're sitting right next to a window and it's a bright sunny day and you get this nice blue cool light coming through your window, you don't want a light from over here with a really warm light. It's going to create a kind of a muddy look. and just kind of look gross. So you always want to try to match a sunny day. You want to use the cool setting if you're maybe under fluorescent lights like I am, or if it's a really cloudy day outside, use that neutral setting. Or if it's late at night and you're working with, the interior lighting that's already in your space, maybe a lamp in the background, the warm setting is really the best option. After you get that color temperature matched, the next thing is adjust your brightness to balance contrast and avoid hot spots. So what I mean here, this is kind of going back to what I said a minute ago about not overdoing it with lights. A lot of time when people look at their image, they look at their content and they think, I need more light. What they actually need is less light. Because what's happening is your camera, oftentimes the exposure is going to adjust as you add more light. And so if you've over brightened your light, the main subject is going to be super bright, but the background may be really dark. And so you're going to say, man, I need more light back there in the back. So you crank your light up more, but all it does is exacerbates the problem because the subject gets brighter and the background doesn't get any brighter. So I would actually say you have better luck if you feel like you need more light, actually dialing back a little bit. And checking that out, see what it looks like first. But also you never want to, if you're filming anything, you've got it lit and it looks great in camera, but there's a few areas that are just white. They're fully white. That's called a hot spot. A lot of times it's like on your forehead on a Zoom call. You don't want to do that because that means the camera has been overexposed and there's no data there. So you're just going to get that white blob in your content. And especially if you're sharing it online, when it compresses the video file, it's actually going to make it worse. So make sure you're adjusting your brightness. You're just trying to control that contrast and avoid getting really hot spots. And the very last thing, I reluctantly say, consider adding additional fill lights or practical lights to add interest and dimension. But remember, less is more. So the reason I say carefully consider this is like, again, adding more light usually doesn't help. Now, there are times where maybe, your main light is really, really bright. And so you do want to lift the whole room so it's not so contrasty. You may have a second light that's just adding a little bit of, we call it fill, to lift the whole room. So that's a good idea, but it's a little bit more advanced technique. As far as practical lights are basically just any lights that are in your shot that are actually visible in the frame. So right now I've got a practical back here. If I turn that lamp on, it's not actually going to light me at all. So the subject isn't changing, but the background is going to have a cool little glow. So that can actually add interest and dimension. So a well-placed practical here and there is nice. Even in this GIF we've got up here, the candle is considered a practical. In the night shot, the candle's glowing and adds a little bit of interest. So I'll get to my final point in just a second. But to sum it all up, I believe that if you get confident with your content creation and start to enjoy the process, I know it's hard to believe, you can enjoy the process, you will actually create a virtuous cycle where you end up creating more content. Your content then gets better engagement because it's got nice visuals and you're going to see better results, whether your results are conversions like they are for us, whether it's leads, like I know a lot of you that's you're just looking for more leads, whether it's just getting likes on your Instagram video of your art, like whatever you do, if you get more, if you create more content, you get better engagement, you're going to see better results, and it's going to lead you to want to create more content. And that's where, like, our product, we really kind of designed it to fit into that cycle, because Canvas actually looks good on your desk and you don't go hide it in the closet when you're not using it because it's so ugly. You actually keep it out on your desk. You can literally in just a moment's time decide, hey, I'm going to make a video real quick, pop your phone in, great lighting, create something. It actually means not only are you going to enjoy making content, but you're just practically going to make more because it's always there waiting for you. And I love that virtuous cycle, the flywheel effect. All right, so here's what I said. We're going to do all of it. If you want to take a screenshot, this is the one to screenshot. This is your checklist, how to shoot quality content anywhere. And I'll just read through them one more time, make sure everyone has time to screenshot it. Make sure the camera's stationary, ensure the desk is sturdy as well. Don't pay for camera features you don't need, just spend the money on better lighting. Utilize natural light whenever you can, orient to that light. Don't shoot into a window, don't shoot backlit, and don't rely on overhead lights. In most cases, you want to minimize how they're playing as much as possible. You want to make sure you have your own quality light that you know how to use. As far as positioning above your eyes, and then play around with direction to see what looks the best to you. There's no right answer there. Don't overdo it on lighting. set up 10 lights all around you and imagine that it's going to somehow look great. You'll end up wasting money and it probably will look bad. Don't mix color temperatures rather, unless you really know what you're doing. Adjust brightness to balance contrast and avoid the hot spots, and then carefully consider adding fills or practicals, but less is still more. So back to my original image. What went wrong? Well, now that we've talked through the checklist, here's what we did. We worked against the natural lighting, the windows behind me. We're also shooting backlit. So not only do we not orient so the light can play on the scene, we actually it's double whammy because now the light is actually detracting from the scene. You can't see them in the image, but there's actually two sets of overheads casting these shadows on me. We've got one, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but one right there, and then one longer one, two shadows of my chin, basically right on my chest there. It just looks gross. I didn't use any additional video lighting. I definitely didn't dial it in. We do have mixed color temperatures. You can see the camera is actually exposed for the background. That color looks pretty okay, even though it's overexposed, but my face is not properly exposed and the color's way off. And then of course the brightness balance is terrible. I'm really dark and the background is way overexposed. So fix all that, address all those problems, and you will start to look like this, like I do right now. All right. So I'm going to quickly, I know we're probably over time here. I'm going to really quickly go through 4 different approaches on different budgets. This is what you can do tomorrow. If you sign up to our email list, I knew I forgot something, forgot to get our link to send out so you can sign up to the email list. We can send you the links after this. So we'll make sure we get that to you. Extreme budget, $0 to $25. Use your camera you've already got, use a lamp or natural light you've already got, and get a cheap tripod. Cheap-ish, $25 to $100. Still, I would say, like I said, don't spend the money on the camera, spend it on the lighting and the mount. You can get a great light and a great phone mount for about $85. Pretty solid budget. Yeah, you may want to invest in a camera at that point. You're going to be spending a lot more, if you get a $130 Logitech camera. But, if you want to spend $200, you can fit that into the budget. And then I would either get the bar light or the edge light, and you don't need a camera mount if you're using a secondary camera. Or you can go the canvas route, start at 118, use your free camera, use a professional ring light, get unlimited versatility. And as an added bonus, you're going to just look amazing on your desk. It looks awesome. So I'm not biased or anything. And I think that's probably plug number 53. So I got 3 more plugs before I go, which leads me to my last tip, the bonus tip. Don't forget about audio. I maintain that good video plus bad audio is just terrible. It's a big red X. But if you have bad video that still has good audio, it's actually not that bad. And this is counterintuitive. Most people kind of audio is an afterthought, but I would submit that audio is just as important, if not more important than the video, which is why we just released our own wireless microphone that you've been hearing this whole time. Secret little Easter egg. The mic's right here. You've been hearing this audio for the entire call. It works with phones, tablets, and computers. You got to get the right version, that matches your device. But I would say definitely, I would recommend, if you really want to level up your content creation, get you a mic. And that is all.